What up? I'm 360 on pRhymetime on music.
How you feeling in lead up to the new album?
Feel good. I feel nervous. I feel like kind of mix of emotions. Like when I'm in the process of creating an album, I've got a lot of belief and confidence in what I do, and then the week we announce the album to when it comes out, all this doubt creeps in, and just my mind's just like a massive head fuck. You know what I mean? Just every emotion you can think of, like positive and negative. Like I'm excited, I'm pumped, but I'm also worried and paranoid and like anxious and stuff like that. It's it's good. It's good. Like I don't mind it, but I can't wait for the album to drop so I can just feel normal again.
Yeah,
or semi-normal.
And the album's called Vintage Modern.
Yep.
Where did the title come from and the concept behind the album?
So the whole concept, like I was saying, like telling you earlier, like I had an album a year ago, which was completely different. It was like rapping over massive trap beats and all the tracks sounded like some real kind of American hip hop, what's current at the moment over there. And I wanted to make a modern sounding album as far as the production goes, but bring the vintage element as far as lyricism and rapping goes. And then we got in the studio in here with Carl, who's like the guitarist and musician on the album, and we made like 5 songs in a week, and we were just like, this is crazy. But it was like totally flipped it. It went from being modern production to being sounding like vintage production. It sounds like it's from the 70s and like old blues records and stuff like that. So it's totally reversed it, but it still has the same kind of concept in it. So it's like more vintage sounding music with modern production, and both a mix of modern and vintage as far as the rapping goes. So it's been an interesting one, man. Yeah,
absolutely. And since you released Sorry a few years ago, you've covered some pretty heavy hitting issues. What was it about that you wanted to lend your voice to?
Man, it was like when I got off all the drugs and shit like that, I was just kind of quiet about it. No one really knew what happened when I had that little overdose and the tour got cancelled and stuff like that. No one knew why, and no one knew what happened. And I didn't really I wasn't comfortable to talk about it. And then after I was a year clean, I was like in a really good like state of mind. I was ready to talk about it and shit like that. And then my mum actually said, you're coming up to being a year clean. And I was like, shit, I haven't told anyone about this. And I was just like went downstairs and just started writing it. And then on the day I just went nuts and just wrote like majority of it in half an hour. It just all poured out of me. And I just recorded it and just put it straight out. And it was like, it just kind of organically happened, I guess. It just made me want to reach out and tell everyone exactly what had happened and what was going on. You know what I mean?
Have you found there's been much of an audience outside of hip hop listeners?
Massively.
From that as well? Massively,
yeah. It's kind of a trip out, man, to have people approach me. Like I was in the city last week, and I got approached by a guy in his 40s, totally doesn't even listen to rap, and he was just like, you're just from the story. Your story has just inspired me so much, and have just gotten me into like rap music, and I've started listening to it more and realised that there's a lot of Australian rap that just doesn't sound like anything else. It's a lot more kind of relatable to people in Australia and stuff. So it's a massive trip out when people say that. I find that to be a massive compliment too, when people say, I don't like rap, but I really like your music. I love that.
And especially after even releasing recently Tiny Angel, it also got huge attention online. Why do you think tracks like that do find such a voice online?
I think it really connects with people who have gone through the same thing, but even people who haven't gone through the same thing, but it sort of brings up that emotion of losing someone or something like that. They connect with it as well. So I think that's definitely where that comes from. Just the intensity of it, and just like, yeah, just how much people take what is said on board. I think that's what brings that out, you know.
Especially when you're sharing such really positive content. Is there anxiety in putting out such personal stuff?
Definitely, yeah. There's like, it's weird because a lot of people say, you know, you're really brave for talking about your mental health stuff and your addiction issues and stuff like that, and I'm actually really comfortable with talking about those things, but at the same time, I don't feel like I would ever talk about where all that shit really stems from, and that's one thing I don't think I'll ever do is talk about that shit. So it's like I'm comfortable with talk about a few things, but there's definitely certain topics that I will never talk about. You know what I mean? So that's So I guess so. I definitely get a little bit nervous about letting too much out there and giving people too much, you know. But at the same time, like, if I'm being like comfortable to talk about mental illness and addiction, I feel like it's going to resonate with people who are going through the same thing. So it's a positive thing, you know. It helps. If it's going to help people, then it's a great thing. And I think even the stuff that I don't want to talk about, I've tried to talk myself into talking about it, because I know that people who've been through similar things will be like, wow, you know, like I've been through the same thing. That helps so much to hear. But it's just, for me personally, I know if I release that, it's just, no, it's too damaging. Like,
and you're obviously a seasoned MC. You've played a lot of live shows and stuff like that. Does that anxiety still relate to performing live, or do you just walk on stage and just own that? Like,
I love performing. Like, man, honestly, my whole career, I'd never get nervous before performing. If there's, I guess there's a little bit of anxiety and like adrenaline. I just want to get out there and kill it. But I guess since I've gotten off all the drugs and shit like that, there's definitely an element of being kind of nervous before a show. But as soon as I get out there, I'm fine. You know what I mean? I just want to get out there. That's the thing. I don't want to, like, I hate sitting there for like 3 hours like backstage, just like, all right, 2 hours to go.
Doing your head in.
Yeah, I just want to get out there. And once I'm out there, I'm fine. You know?
How do you feel that when you are releasing these tracks that are quite heavy hitting, how do you feel that affects the people around you? Has that been difficult?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like Tiny Angel, which is a story about a friend of mine, I think that's had a positive effect for him. Because I spoke to him before it and asked permission to do it, and I showed him the song, and he was really grateful that I did it, but he wouldn't watch the video or anything like that. He just can't go back there, you know. It's like reliving the trauma over again, so I totally understand that. But it's definitely, when you talk about personal stuff, especially with the family, like they get really concerned that, you know, that I'm opening too much and giving people way too much, you know, especially when it's like you give a lot of people ammunition. It's like online, there's so much people talk shit and just say like fucked up negative shit that I kind of give them a little bit of ammunition to say really harsh shit, because people really do say some harsh shit, you know what I mean? Like, I've just seen people say like, oh fucking, I much prefer this cunt when he was fried on drugs and shit like that. It's like, well, it's fucking horrible. Who would say that? That's, you know, like, so that's what I think concerns my family, is that if I'm not in a strong state of mind, people saying that kind of shit can kind of get to you. But I've learned over the years, you know, to just take that shit with a grain of salt. Like, you don't buy into all that negative shit. You know, you just look at it and see it for what it is. It's like that person saying it it's kind of projecting. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if someone's really, I say this so much, but if someone's happy and content with their life and how it's going, they're not going to go out of their way to go on someone's Facebook and say some horrible shit like that. So I've sort of learnt to look at it as though, wow, this person must be, like, something's going on in his life that's not right. So you kind of feel sorry for them. So instead of like taking it and being really offended by it, you just kind of see it and be like, damn, you must be going through some shit to say that. You know?
And I know that after following you on socials and stuff, you've found solace in going to the gym and working out and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't sure if I was going to ask you about body image as such, but like, what is it about working out that you found?
Man, the working out thing, just like as soon as I got out of rehab, the working out became another addiction for me, but I guess it was a positive one. Like I don't think I'll ever stop being an addict. I'm constantly, there's something that I'm doing and I'm going always hard at it, but now just keep away from all drugs and any substance, you know what I mean? So I've turned my addictions into more positive ones, like making music or going to the gym. But the gym's sort of, it's more just helped me mentally. It's just been a real positive vice for me, you know what I mean? But the thing is, like when you talk about body image and shit like that, like at the same time when I was making this album, I fell off from going to the gym. I lost all my progress and stuff like that. I put on so much weight, and I'd just been put on a course of medication by my psychiatrist, which made me gain so much weight. So I did a video with Pez called "They Try to Tell Me," and I saw the video and I was like, I was a lot bigger than I was, you know what I mean? I was like, holy shit! And the comments on it were just like, look at this fucking fat cunt, you know what I mean? Like he's huge now. And as soon as I saw that, I was just like, that smashed me, man. Like I was like, makes me so self-conscious of it, you know? So it's something that definitely hits you. Like I don't think people understand that, you know, even if someone's like in the spotlight, no matter who it is, like even if it's Kim Kardashian and fucking Justin Bieber and shit, they're still humans. Like there's still times they're going to read a comment and actually it's going to take offense. They're going to take offense by it. So people need to understand that like words do have power sometimes, you know. So watch what you say. Don't be such a cunt.
Yeah. What I would give you a lot of respect for, and I think a lot of your listeners will give you a lot of respect for, is that you're normalizing a conversation. That conversations that are really uncomfortable to have, you're having those conversations because these are things that people experience on a daily basis. And particularly focusing on men's mental health. I mean, it's a massive issue at the moment, given sort of the prevalence of depression and anxiety that are really apparent in the music industry. What are your opinions on masculinity and its relationship to music? Yeah,
well, especially in rap, man, it's like it's always been a thing where you're supposed to be kind of hard, you're supposed to be rough, you're supposed to be not soft whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I think like I'm totally comfortable saying that like I'm the softest dude ever. Like I'm not a fighter, I'm not like a hard cunt or anything like that whatsoever. I'm just a normal dude. Nothing cool about just being a hard cunt and being good at fighting and shit like that. Like it's better to be positive and honest with yourself about who you are. But like with the whole masculinity thing, I think just with men in general, most of the time, dudes always, if they're going through some shit, they're just like, oh, just suck it up, don't tell anyone. Like I know that's like pretty rampant in my family. Like my dad, if he's going through some shit, he just doesn't tell anyone. You know what I mean? I'm sort of the same, man. Even when I'm going through shit, I don't tell anyone. My music is my outlet. You know what I mean? So that's I think a lot of people think I'm an open book, but I'm not really. Like I am through music, but in person I'm not. Like if I'm going through some shit, I don't really talk about it that much. You know, I don't tell people around me, and I don't know why that is. It's just, I think it's something that's just in me.
I suppose in hip hop it's so much about bravado and about that sort of stature that you hold in the public eye. Is that the conversation in mental health that you'd like to change?
It's definitely, yeah. Like you don't have to be like some macho cunt to be a rapper and shit, you know what I mean? Especially in this day and age, it doesn't matter. You can be anyone and be a rapper, just as long as you're just expressing. It's just just expressing yourself. I guess that, and these days there's so many dudes that aren't like that, you know what I mean? Especially in Australia, like you've got dudes like All Day. They're not trying to be something they're not. They're just themselves, you know. And people might hate on him because he might be a little bit feminine in ways and stuff like that, but there's nothing wrong with that. I love that about him because he embraces that and just runs with it. Who gives a fuck? It's like I love that shit. I love when people embrace who they are and they don't try to be something they're not. And I think that's important that more people do that.
You shared a post on Instagram a few days ago and just about expressing your excitement for the new album, and in it you said it's like I'm completely starting over again but with a head start. What's that advantage that you're referring to?
I feel like I feel like with this new album, I feel like it really does feel like I'm starting again. Like I've had to learn how to live like a normal person again without drugs or anything. Well, I am on drugs, medication and stuff, but without illicit drugs and substances in my system. Had to learn how to live like a normal person and shit. And it feels like with the album, it's the same thing. I've had to learn how to write without drugs being involved, which I've done before, but not to the capacity of making an entire album. But I'm starting over, but with the head start part is I've actually got a fan base there. So it's like I'm starting again, but I've definitely got a head start because I've got people wanting to hear the music. I'm not having to start all over again.
All right, and lastly, on the album, what can we expect? Is it party bangers? Is there the same emotive content that you've been sharing recently? Give us some insight.
Man,
where am I going to listen to your album? Is it in the bathtub at home or?
It's everything. It's literally it's got every kind of aspect. I tell you what, it's the most. Usually when I write from personal experience and I talk about shit that I've gone through. But like Tiny Angel's an example where I'm not talking about myself. I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. So this album's probably the only album I've made where the album's not full of shit to just personal experiences. It's actually more social commentary and shit like that. And there's definitely some like massive party jams on it, but a lot of it is more meaningful and introspective for sure. So I think it's something you can listen to in the bathtub. Definitely have a wank to it if you want. Have a drive and listen to it. Yeah, I think you can listen to it, anywhere. I guess you wouldn't listen to Tiny Angel at a party though. It would just bring everyone down.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We can't wait for the album.
Pleasure.
It's available on all platforms this Friday.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, bro.
Man, my pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.